Immerse in the profound wisdom of the Shandilya Bhakti Sutras, ancient verses, revered as a pinnacle of devotion and spiritual awareness. Under the guidance of His Holiness Swami Jyotirmayananda, plunge into the infinite ocean of this revered scripture. Discover its hidden truths. Embrace its transformative power. Awaken to new realms of divine love and spiritual awareness. The depths are calling. The deeper you dive, the more treasures you'll discover. And now, Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda.
Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansachanuramardanam Devki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om. Adorations to Lord Krishna, the Preceptor of the universe, destroyer of the forces of darkness, and bestower of immortality. We continue with Bhakti Sutras of Shandilya, Sage Shandilya. In Sutra number 7, I'm reiterating some of the sutras. Na kriya krityalapekshanat jnanavat. Devotion is not like an action, because it does not depend upon action, while knowledge does. Whenever we instruct someone do something, that's the field of action. But loving sentiment is innate. In the realm of action, you are taught various techniques, various methods. In the real realm of feeling, nobody teaches you. You allow it to develop. Who taught the mama cat to take care of the little kiddies? Who taught the mother birds to take care of their young ones? That's difficult to understand. Who teaches the mothers? Young mothers, many of them have no university education. And when they have babies, they know better than men. And apart from humorous way of saying that love is there in men, women, all, irrespective of any differences that exist. Therefore, it is extremely natural. And that's why if you read Bhakti literature, devotion is described to be simplest. In the story of Bhagavad Puran, Uddhava, Krishna's great friend, developed the idea that he knew more about Krishna because he had studied the scriptures. And he always sat before Krishna with that sense of subtle pride. And Krishna told him, you have to learn more. But knowing his pride was there, Krishna gave a subtle advice. Since you know so much, the Gopis suffer from separation from me. Go teach them. Uddhava went there with that idea of teaching high Vedanta, with a subtle sense that these people, how they are so great, but they didn't have the opportunity to study those Upanishads and other things. And with a great sense of compassion, he went there to open his heart and explain all things to those wonderful Gopis. And when he started doing that, Gopis didn't give any attention to what he was saying. He said, for us, Krishna is everywhere. What are you saying? You are consoling us that Krishna is separate from us. But Krishna is all. We are in the ocean of Krishna's presence. At every moment there is nothing but Krishna. And Uddhava was so struck by that presence of those gopis and the way their experience of Krishna was, that he sings a song that, may I be ever born in the place where trees are touched by gopis and walk the path that gopis walk down. Maybe I become the dust of gopis' feet. You may not find exact quotation, but that doesn't matter. And there is a saintly statement that he who cannot be attained by even great yogis and requires enormous intellectual advancement to have a little understanding of him, that he, in the form of Krishna, is being teased by gopis. Tahi ahir ki chohadiyan chachiyan bar chaach par naach nacha. The women were cowherds, the daughters of cowherds. They were tempting Krishna by showing a little shallow vessel filled with buttermilk. And Krishna would go, but to take the buttermilk away. So you have to dance. Just for enjoying buttermilk, Krishna had to dance before these gopis who knew no Upanishads, who had not practiced great yoga. But the simplicity and purity of their heart had removed all impediments. They saw nothing other than Krishna. When Krishna lived with them, there was some form of dependence on him. But Krishna, very young, 16-year-old, was taken away, as the story unravels. And gopis in the beginning suffered terrible torment by being separated from him. But the devotion they had in their heart began to blossom even in the absence of Krishna's presence, and blossomed to such an extent that Krishna was never absent. They came to a state of experience which was even better than what Krishna was. Now, Uddhava realized. He realized the trick Krishna played on him, sending him to teach gopis. The reality was the gopis had to teach him. It is a great project. First, to recognize the amazing gift of God that is given to every soul. And that gift is love. Love in a conditioned form, but if you go after it, try to understand what it is. You are moving on the path of bhakti. An experience of love is there in all animals, birds, but in human being you have a special faculty of allowing it to blossom. When love blossoms in an advanced way, The focus of that love is only God, the absolute self, Paramatma. When love blossoms, a revelation of your own self is the self, Satchidananda, Brahman. You think of a reflected sun in a pot of water. The reflected sun is so insignificant. But when you explore what is shining within this water, your exploration reaches the revelation, the sun. Similarly, what is diffusing through your heart in the form of love, whether ignorant, whether scholarly, no matter who, there is a little diffusion of a mysterious love in the heart of all creatures. And bhakti is based on that. Allow that to blossom. That love is veiled by moha. Moha is like a smoke. As you advance on the path of devotion, you begin to understand the difference between pure love and love that is mixed up with moha, delusion. Love that is mixed with moha creates attachment. It is restrictive. Therefore, probably people use the term, they fall in love. They don't go any further, saying they broke the knees. Fall in love. But the Paramahamsas, swan-like spirits, they fly in love. When you fly, before you don't have multiplicity of things to love. All clouds move away. Love expands as the sky before you. And you become one with it. Rising in love. That's the subtle point. In all worldly dealings and experiences and all practical realities, always try to switch your mind from moha to love. Moha requires external attention. You want to hear good words from people whom you love. You want to see them laugh, smile, and so forth. Prem requires a deeper insight, loving the soul, loving the person in such a way that the person becomes better, more stronger in spirit, healthier, more positive. Moha is restrictive. Moha doesn't care whether you become miserable as long as you have the story of that turtles and the swan. The swan is free, comes to visit a little island where turtles dwell. And the turtles and swan became very friendly. But the turtles began to complain, how is it you always go away? It would be a great thing to stay with us. Hear all the talks we give you, so many variations. You have only one talk. Talk of big things. Here have very little delicate things that you can enjoy. Life is not just one vacant space. But the swan said, well, my wings itch to fly. And so they proposed to clip the wings of the swan. And the swan foolishly allowed. And by the time the swan had become kind of invalid, couldn't fly, there comes a little fox. And all those turtles ran into the river or ocean, and Swan couldn't do anything. At that time, Swan asked them, "Why can't you help me? You love me. Don't leave me. I left all my flying for you." They said, "This is the nature of the things." Nobody stays. If you are dying, die. Nobody will follow. All they love is in literature. A lot of words have been said. When it actually comes a serious expression of love, that is not possible. No one can love another person. One can say, "I can live with you forever. I can take you all over the world." But one little difficulty, one little heartbeat, heartache. I'm referring to heart attack, actually. And immediately all words that have been said mean nothing. The idea is, therefore, your soul's greatest project is to discover the absolute love. And that's what the soul has been doing from incarnation to incarnation. Process goes on. In each embodiment, you build up a whole circle of loving personality, loving objects. And then everything is discarded. Even though in each embodiment, of course, most people don't believe in embodiments. What you have is here, that's enough. But those who do believe, they still hold certain illusion that I will carry on the same relationship in the next birth with the same people or with the next. Even those who don't believe in reincarnation, they have that illusion that I will meet those loving people with God out there, and we live together happily, daily taking the pet to walk, daily to have coffee and tea with God, and it will be forever. But behind all this expression of human love, one thing is most highlighted aspect of the love of God. It is love of God, the love of self, that which is pure bhakti, devotion. That is what is operating in every expression of your love, no matter how limited it is. But you need to allow that love to grow, expand. In the beginning, you are allowing love to get out of the web of rajas and tamas. Tamas means anger, hate, greed. And the mind begins to think of someone in a very intensely negative way. You must realize love has become blended with illusion in such a way that it is love that has turned into hatred. If you could sublimate that hatred energy, love will expand. As long as love does not enter your heart, your hatred has no remedy. Coming a little deviation. People always try to find solution to their anger and hate. For gross-minded people, the solution lies in revenge. Tooth for a tooth. So someone broke your one tooth and you broke 3 teeth. In a tamasic state, it gave you great joy. But that's not the solution. Now you are living with fear. But if you had a divine process of revenge, जो तो को कांटा बुए ताही बुई तू फूल. Someone sowed thorns for you, planned out some miserable things to happen for you. You knew it, and you responded it by developing love. That's not easy, but that's magnanimity. Now you began to, how can I help this person? Because this anger in him is a disease. How can we free him from that miserable state of sentiment? And so you find an opportunity and help the person. Unawares, God arranges some situation where the person needs some help. And there you are, you help the person. That's what implies tahi bui tu fool. He sowed thorns for you, and you sow flowers. Then what happens? His anger changes immediately. Love wells up in his heart. And you see the person recovering from it. That's your best revenge. That's the path of love. Atayeva phalanantyam, therefore the result of devotion is inexhaustible. In ninth sutra, tadvata prapatti shabdatcha na jnanam itara prapattivat. Gita uses the term prapatti in two places, implying prapatti implies worship, devotional worship. It implies devotion. It is not the same as knowledge. It is different from knowledge. Subtle point is trying to be brought before you. Lord Krishna says in the Gita, there are 4 types of devotees. Artha, Artharthi, Jignasu and Jnana. Artha, one who turns to God in distress. And when distressing situation moves on, God is forgotten. God is always there to be used, like you have the phone with you. When you have finished using, finish. Take him away. Artharthi, people who want some material benefit. A student wants to pass examination. And he turns to God. There's no harm in that. But sometimes he has not studied, not prepared. Still he wants God to help him by, and he wants to test the power of prayer. Sometimes it works. Artha, Artharth, Jignasu. Jignasu is one who has developed an inquiring mind, one who is on the path of Jnana, inquiring to who am I, what is the nature of the world, who is God, many things, all intellect-based. And Jnani, one who has the knowledge which is profounder insight into God. Krishna says, of these 4, Jnani is the best. Now, subtler meaning behind it. Here, Krishna doesn't mean Jnani means that just because you have developed some intellectual ability that you are the best. Jnani is one who has developed integral personality. You must realize every teaching is given for the masses at very ordinary level. Then we step up into a higher level. The higher level of teaching, when we say, turn to God with artha. Artha is the melting heart. Is the path of compassion, path of devotion. In other words, if you want to develop profound love of God, you allow 4 aspects of your personality to become integrated. And let me enumerate. Artha aspect, the heart. Your feeling must go on undergoing a process of purification. Shuddha bhavana. Bhavana vikas. How to allow your feeling to blossom. Free of those sentiments that choke your feeling. Anger, hate, even just worries. Thinking of yourself as I'm very so little. Self-pity. There are many ways in which your feeling is choked. But constant attention to allow your feeling to expand. That will require a whole plan. So you have to have satsang, you must know how to create more sattva in your personality. Artharthi is karma yoga. How to be skilled in action. How to have all the necessities before you so that your mind is not burdened by the world. How to perform your duties, or rather turn your action involvement into a process of purifying your heart. How to turn activities into yoga. That's artharthi. The discipline of the hands, speaking in a figurative language. First is discipline of the heart, then the discipline of the hands. Jigyasu. Jigyasu become enquirer. That relates to mind, discipline of the mind, which has 2 aspects, dhyana and jnana. Dhyana means you meditate, and jnana means you inquire. Inquire, who am I? Study Vedantic literature. Allow your intellect to unfold. If your personality has all this in a balanced manner, integral yoga, this point has to go deep into your heart that spiritual movement is not one-sided. You must be able to develop your feeling. You must be able to develop your insight into things. You must be able to perform action skillfully. So you are not a person who is just one-sided. If you have a total, an integral unfoldment, then you are the devotee of God. The ideal, that's where you are trying to move to. Therefore, simple gaining of knowledge, many people develop that idea. In Hindu families, people who are religious, as time passes by, old age comes in, let me study Ashtavakra Gita, let me study the best of Vedantic literature, the highest, and figure out how the world is superimposed on Brahma. Intellectually, they are able to grasp it. They feel very happy about it. But they wonder, how is it in spite of that, pain doesn't go away, sorrow doesn't go away. I know the Bhuma, Brahman, and that infinite bliss doesn't come to me. The answer is because you are just focusing on one aspect. You allow all other aspects come along with it. If you have taken up that project, integration, you will not be facing day by day a sense of loss, a sense of being helpless, or a sense of wasting energy. In the Gita, Lord Krishna says that such a person who has developed this integral attainment, he becomes my best devotee. His statement is not one who knows Vedanta in an intellectual way, but his statement is one who has become a totally transformed at action level, at emotion level, as mental level, in all levels. That's the teaching of the Gita. Such a jnani. Now, again, Krishna doesn't end up there saying that jnani has now attained the highest. He says, he worships me. Worship is the highest term. After you have done all that, what goes on is worship. Worship is a river that has been well developed. Now it goes on flowing to the ocean. Put another level, river has entered the ocean. It goes on flowing. So look at one aspect of the river, it is flowing constantly, it is worshipping the ocean. From another angle, it is the ocean. Bhakti in perfect state, that's the picture of the. So Bhakta never says that I don't need to worship God, I don't need to pray, I am the. But he is always humble, he is constantly worshipping God, he is constantly. To that Bhakta, God who is the ocean, I love him. The ocean loves that river that goes on flowing. Yo mameva asammudho janati purushottamam sa sarvavit bhajati ma sarvabhavena bharat. Krishna says to Arjuna, whoever knows me through a clear intellect and turns to me sarvabhavena in every aspect of his personality, such a person is another statement. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanvan mam prapadyate vasudevah sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. Through many lives, the soul goes on evolving in a spiritual way. To become a jnanavan, to have a balanced and integral unfoldment, that is a result of many lives. And what happens? One who has attained that level, for that person, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, there is nothing but God everywhere. As I have explained to you, he is a river that has entered the ocean. Sabahatma Sudurlabha. That type of Mahatma is very rare to find. The term prapadya, prapadyate, comes from the word prapatti, which means worship. Worship is a central feature of Bhakti Yoga, path of devotion. And Krishna never ends with jnana. He says jnani prapadya. One who has attained wisdom worships. He should have said he has attained wisdom, finished. There's another statement in the Gita that those who do not have the highest type of understanding, kamaisthaiste apahrita jnana prapadyantenya devata, they turn to other gods led by their desire. But it is me, Krishna says, I, who grant them the fulfillment of their wishes. This point again is not easily understood, and people create many errors. First, the idea, worshipping the God, contrasted from worshipping many gods. With the God, G is big. Many gods is a very small G. At the mass level, everyone develops that pride. I am worshipping the God. What does it mean? In every family there is Ishtadeva. You may be worshipping Ganesha, that's the God. All gods, other gods. I am worshipping Lord Vishnu, the God. Anyone who worships other than the other gods. I am worshipping Rama, the God. All those who are worshipping many other gods as other gods. That's a terrible interpretation. That's what brings all that religious intolerance and hatred. And let me promote my God for everybody. Let me help them to worship my God, who is the best. There is no such thing as my God and other gods. When you turn to God with desire, you are not turning to the God, no matter what name you have for God. You worship Rama with ordinary desire and nothing else. Then you are worshipping other God. You are not really worshipping the God. So no matter what name you put to God you worship, it is the way you worship, what leads you to worship, that determines whether you are worshipping the God or other God. And if you are worshipping the God, no matter what name you give to that the God, call him Lord Hari, call him Vishnu, call him Shiva, call him Devi, call him Jesus, call him Buddha. Call him something sanctified, don't call him with meaningless term. But call him in any name. You are worshipping the God if your heart has developed that profound understanding. And from a practical point of view, all gods line up. If you worship the God, all gods are pleased. All gods are the aspects of the same one God. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven. All else is added unto. The God is the kingdom of heaven. All else means whatever your desires are and whatever your inclinations are, all are included as you turn to the God. Therefore, there is absolutely no contradiction if you are worshipping Rama or if you are having japa of Krishna or japa of Devi or any God. You should not interpret it, oh, what Krishna said. I am the God and those who don't worship me, other gods. That is not so. Same thing Rama says. And same thing Jesus says. I am the only way. That I am doesn't relate to personality. Now coming to the lesser level where people do worship God, thinking they are not worshipping the central, they are worshipping Lakshmi for wealth, Durga Devi for overcoming an enemy, Hanuman for crossing over the ocean. Different gods. The scripture says, Krishna says, they are actually worshipping me, not knowing. And it is I who grant them their wishes. Even so, even though it is a lesser form of worship, it is better. It is something that is bringing God into your mind. But your mind is coming to God with in a progressive manner. You understand first God in a small role, giver of objects of your desire. But as you advance and your desires diminish, your mind turns away from other gods to thee. Try to understand. The other gods doesn't mean that you... Other gods are again just abstract term. Your mind turns away from the idea that God has many personalities, that there are many gods. Your mind becomes focused on the God. Your Ishtadevata remains the same. But your Ishtadevata, whoever your Ishta, Rama, Krishna, whomsoever, you see all gods and goddesses implied in. And you have the choice, you can sing the praises of all gods, etc. So the kirtans, you sing all the praises of all gods. But one who knows a deeper level, you are worshipping the same God. You are worshipping same Rama, while you sing of so many kirtans of all other gods. All other gods are not other gods as long as you know the deeper meaning behind. On the other hand, you may be very rigid. Turn away from all gods. You don't want to even listen to them. And you are worshipping only one. And yet, from scriptural point of view, you are the worshipper of other God. If your goal is not devotion, not becoming liberated, if your goal is only to obtain some limited reward, then no matter whatever is your mode of worship, you may have in your mind created the idea, I'm worshipping the one God, not many. That doesn't make any difference. You are actually worshipping many gods, or call it mini gods. So moving from many gods or many gods to the God is a subtle process. Still in your puja room, you can have many gods. Realize those many gods are not many. They are different poses of the same God. Everyone wants to have many pictures taken. But since you have many pictures, that doesn't mean you have become multi. And with this we conclude. Om Shanti.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of spiritual growth. It's an honor to learn from the wisdom of Swami Jyotirmayananda. As we part for now, remember, the quest does not end. Take time to reflect on today's insights and integrate them into your life. Until next time, stay open, stay curious, stay present. The light within you is always shining.